Michael, hey, I'm proud to have this opportunity to reintroduce you to the people of Erie. Really. You and I have worked off and on together on community issues for just a few years now. And I'm glad to know that you're a very proud father and a dedicated husband. But if you could tell all the people out there three things about you that qualify you for the position of Erie City Councilman, what would those three things be?
Well, it's been identified that highly electable candidates have these three things. That one, I'm an Army veteran. I'm a union member and former union steward, and I have a formal education. I have a Bachelor of Arts from Gannon University.
Great, great. Now, you're a lifelong Erie resident. What high school did you attend?
I went to Academy High School.
Fantastic. Right, now for someone who's accomplished as much as you have in life, why have you chosen to run for the unglamorous position of Erie City Councilman?
First of all, I believe I can be helpful. And in my vision, I also believe Erie can be a world-class city. And I think that it's gonna take dedicated people to push the city in the right direction. And I believe that I'm that person.
Fantastic. Now, you're actually in a position with the Democratic Party currently. I mean, you're very active in the community.
Yes, I'm active in the community. And in the Democratic Party, I'm the second vice chair of the Democratic Party.
Great. Now, so one of the things that we've discussed that you believe in is transparency. What does that mean to you? And what are its benefits in government?
Well, what transparency means to me is that information flows freely from the administration to the people, and from the people to the administration and to city council. And so that everyone is informed on what's going on in our city, so that everybody has the opportunity to make their voices known, and so that we can craft the best legislation and the best policies for our city.
You just said a lot there. But a lot of people, talk about diversity and inclusion. And how does that help Erie become a world-class city, as you mentioned? And how can you impact that?
Well, most cities, that are considered world-class cities, they are diverse. It's just a matter of record that, cities that lack diversity and inclusion are slow growing or declining, and those who have made the transition to include all their people are growing and thriving. And what I could do is just champion the process and process changes that lead to open doors for the people who have been effectively shut out of some of the sectors of the economics locally here in Erie.
Certainly. Now, you had mentioned previously, with respect to your military experience, having been stationed abroad, you understand a little bit of what it means to be a stranger in a strange land, and I can't help but think that translates into the way you approach. I mean, Erie is a very diverse place now, especially with the relocations of individuals. We're definitely one of the prime places where people, refugees, are brought in. When you talk about diversity and inclusion, is that something that you've seen in our community? And when you think of growth, is that something you also believe in including?
Yes, it is the fastest sector growing in our community is the new Americans. And having been stationed abroad, I understand having language barriers, right, and having cultural barriers, certainly, and trying to fit into another country's, cultural and social settings, and it's a difficult transition. But also, living abroad, I also seen, a lot of the cities that people see on TV, and
Certainly.
and I see the way that they have maintained their prominence. One of the things that I see is that they take walking and biking has prominence over vehicles in a lot of the city sectors, and that's one way that they maintain order and gathering places.
Right.
So that people aren't hindered by traffic and cars, and you could just go and be entertained or just enjoy yourself.
Great. So you think that those things are part of it being a city being not only world class but a very livable place as a function of being as a definite part of being a world class city.
Absolutely.
Right. So if you would just describe your vision of Erie's revitalization and where it comes from.
Well, my vision, I can't take credit for it. Part of it comes from the Erie Refocus Plan. There's within that document, there's literature about rebuilding and building the core and strengthening the surrounding areas, shoring up the other neighborhoods, because if Erie's gonna flourish, the neighborhoods that still have that are still nice, and we need to keep them nice so that people will feel welcome and that they will invest in these areas, buy homes in these areas,
right,
so that we can increase and stabilize our tax base.
No, those are very important key things. I mean, to certainly have a deep belief in people belonging here as integral to Erie thriving. Where do you think some of that comes from for you?
Well, I think that, one, my spirituality, I also believe, as the Constitution says, that all men are created equal and they've been endowed by the Creator. And so that's the premise for my version of inclusion and diversity, that because we're all here and because we're all the same, we all deserve equal opportunity and a chance to participate.
Great. Now, specifically, where do you get your commitment to the citizens of Erie earning a livable wage?
One, I'm a union member, and I have been for the past 20 years. And so I'm a past union steward, so I have seen some of the things that transpire between companies and unions. And my personal belief comes from my father. He was a construction contractor here locally in Erie, the managing partner of Keys Construction. And he paid everybody a livable wage. And his mantra was, if you put in a full day's pay, a full day's work, you get a full day's pay. And he believed that it should be enough to live off.
I think that's a great message for the working men and women of the city of Erie. And that's one of the reasons why I'm proud to work with you and be part of this. I'm not to say anything about what other people, but I've actually seen you in action, organizing and whatnot. If you just had to say one more thing to the people out there, to the viewers, about yourself and your core beliefs and why you deserve to be on the city council, please, by all means.
Well, deserve is a strong word, but I believe that I'm the most electable candidate, and I believe that I've shown my passion for the city. I've shown my passion for working with the citizens to improve our city, and I believe I'll make a great addition to the city council.
Thank you, Michael Keys.
Thank you.
Thank you, people of Erie. Thank you for your time.
Can I? I'm Michael Keys. I'm running for City Council. I'm #1 on the ballot, and I would like your vote May 21st in the primary election.
Well, hello, Mel. How are you doing today?
Pretty good. Thank you very much, Kevin.
Thank you. Thank you for coming out here. We're at CAT TV. We just wanted to ask you a couple questions so that you could address the voters and, tell about your interests and, why you're running for city council again. So let's start with that question. Why are you running for another term?
Well, I'm going here for my final term, but basically I want to do another term to follow up on so many things that has transpired. Nothing that fell by the wayside, but a lot of things that's on the agenda. And as administration change, agendas change. So we're following some of the new things, the administration, and we'll get into that hopefully shortly. But the main reason is to continue to serve the people of Erie, serve the voters, bring one more term of my experience to City Council, my leadership to City Council, and the final thing is to make the city a better place to live, a safer place to live, and a more prosperous. So whatever I can do in that time frame, I want to do for the city of Erie, which means you're doing it for the people, which means you're doing it for the voters. So I want to give them one more 4 years, and then that'll be it, according to law.
Okay. Now, the mayor mentioned privatizing refuge. What is your position on that?
Well, that's a very interesting question, Kevin. The mayor spoke to Rotary a few weeks ago, and I was interviewed after that. But interestingly enough, the TV station that interviewed me for 5 minutes did their normal cut and splice. And then when they gave their lead-in question, it made it sound like I'm totally in favor of privatization. Well, it's not a bad idea or a bad concept if you're trying to cut and save money. But what I told them was that, yes, I'm in favor of it if, in fact, the union would agree to it. Because I am not in favor of cutting jobs of folks who've been there for years because we're going to outsource or privatize our refuge. So that's my position on that. If it's not going to harm the workers, if it's not going to harm the union folks, if it's not going to lose jobs, I'm in favor. Now, I don't know of any type of merger or elimination that folks don't lose a job. But in this case with the city, if they take the folks, if they privatize and they take the folks and put them in different departments and no one loses their job, then I'm okay with the privatization.
Okay. We've had a lot of social unrest today in certain arenas, one of them being with police and community relationships. How do you think we can improve the police and community relationships?
Several ways. One, we continue to provide diversity training to the police department, which is going on right now under the new chief. And they have an individual, that's his job, to provide that type of sensitivity training, mental health training, because police can roll up on someone and they see their action, but they're being trained now to determine maybe this is a mental health issue. Then they approach it a different way. Previously, years ago, they just did their job, and that festered what we're dealing with today in some cases. Also, community relation is a two-way street. It is important for the community, our community, African American community, Hispanic community, Polish community, Jewish community, German community, Russian community, other. It's important that the word gets out that they understand what the police department have to do, must do. So we need to learn to understand what they are doing and why they're doing it. Therefore, you're talking about meetings at community centers, meetings at churches, meetings at synagogues. You know, not just once a year, but often, 2, 3 times a year. Talk about what the police is doing, how they do it. Why do I say that? My son just retired from the police department in Raleigh, North Carolina. And he has showed me and told me some things that they were doing down there. But they also told me that police got shot, 2 got killed, and vice versa. And so they started this diversity training program, something that we have going on right now. We may just have to expand it. So that's what I'm looking for, and that's what I'll work with council.
Okay, the projected deficit of the city is over $15 million. As a council person, what would you continue to do?
The key to eradicate the deficit, not one person, me, can make that happen. Not one council person can make that happen. Matter of fact, the mayor can't make that happen. What we need to do is look at different avenues, grants, wherever we can get a grant to replace the money we're using from the tax base. That's the issue. We may have to charge businesses for various things that they have gotten free. There's a lot of little things that we can do. It's not going to put a dent in it, but we can plan for reducing the deficit through meeting with businesses, meeting with communities. One of the problems we have is we have an abundance of 501c3s that's paying no taxes at all. And I believe in the 501c3 organization. They're doing a good job. However, we have a lot of churches, that's 501c3, and when they expand, they're 501c3. We have some businesses that have another business break off that begins in their 501c3. We need to work something out with those to pay something. Now, there are several. One that I know for sure, the Erie Housing Authority. They pay taxes and they pay an amount in lieu of taxes. And it's a substantial amount. There's others like Gannon. They buy police cars, or someone buy a fire truck in lieu of taxes. So those are the ways those are the things that's happening now, you know. But to look all down the road, I don't think we can come up with ideas, thoughts, programs, but in reality, what will be the norm 10 years from now, 5 years from now? None of us know. We can think about it, but we don't know. So we have to plan right now as a group, as a council as a whole, administration as a whole, and we get together and we look at and we forecast along with business and industry, what would be their needs? Are they going to be here? So there's no concrete answer to eradicate that debt. It's based on efforts and honesty.
Okay, blight is a major issue for our city. I know that's one of your biggest concerns as well. What's your position on that?
On
blight.
Blight. My position on blight, one, it's a reality. 2, it is important that we work with business that's expanding, like Erie Insurance is expanding on the east side. They're buying property, they're building houses, they're expanding their business. And when they expand their business, they're bringing in new employees, they're hiring new people. So we're eliminating blight in that area. I'm concerned about the blight beyond downtown, because if people come in town, buy a house, they're going to venture beyond the downtown area. Or when they come in and they're looking at our city, they're going to venture beyond that. So we need to take that blight and make it work for us. We need to build, build, build. And that runs into that LERTA program. Okay? And that's how we get that blight reduced. And the current administration and council have moved towards that, towards eliminating as much blight as possible.
So you spoke of the LERTA program. Are you pro-LERTA?
Am I pro-LERTA? Yes, I'm pro-LERTA with a little hesitation. LERTA is good. We're looking at 100% LERTA for residential, 80% LERTA, 10 years for business. Residential, I'm okay with that at 100%. Business, the 80%, I would like to see that if a business come in and they're 80% for 10 years, if their business fail in 5, if they move somewhere else in 5, I would like to see a statement in their agreement that from 5 to 10, you pay whatever that assessment would have been. Okay? So if they fail, if they go belly up, we need to be right there in the bankruptcy court getting and asking for that extended money because they took some land. Good faith. So yes, I'm pro-LERTA with the 100% residential and the 80% business.
Okay, and wrapping up, what would you like the voters to know?
First of all, I would like the voters to know that I'm in your corner. I know when people come up to city council and voice their opinion, we hear you. I hear you. And that's important. I want you to know that I will support that which is good and question that which is questionable. It is important to me that I continue to work hard for the voters like I have done in the past. You are important to me. I ask for your support. I ask for your support, your vote. And I thank you very much for having me serve you for 4 terms, 2 consecutive each time. And I have 1 more term that I can give to the city of Erie with a lot of love. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Tony Ratcliffe. I'm a candidate for City Council. I'm running for City Council because I'd like to make a difference in the way that people are being dealt with in Erie within the political system. I'm a graduate of Strong Vincent High School. I also got my associate's degree in computer applications from Tri-State Business Center. I also got a BA from Edinburgh University. I'm retired from the VA hospital, and that's why I feel that I have the time to do this type of work now, working within the community, working towards social justice, which is something that I've worked for or towards all of my life. I feel that my campaign platform is going to be based on inequities. To me, inequities, I wrote a paper when I was in school that said inequity is just as painful whether it's intentional or unintentional. We don't want to look at the inequities in Erie, but within each one of the areas of our lives, we have inequities. As a city council member, I've already thought about the places, and we had a questionnaire that came out, and the questionnaire asked us 10 questions as to our opinions. And the opinions that they wanted, most of them came down to inequities. I don't know if they had thought about that, but the questions came down to, one of the questions was, as a city council member, what incentives or policies that are not in place would you propose to develop the talents in raising a family in Erie? The thing about that is that I have to be able to offer something that's going to be beneficial to a young man, young woman who does not have the talent that they need to want to develop into an employment area wherein they could get suitable income. This is where we want to look at the community college. When we say community college, we're talking about an area wherein a person who is not necessarily suitable for a four-year college would be able to get training to the point where they would qualify for a position that would give them an income that would be suitable to raise a family. In saying raise a family, we're also talking about purchasing a home, a decent home. We also talk about there's one of the questions was about the aging stock in Erie. When we say aging stock, we're talking about homes that people could own, people could be proud of owning. We have a lot of property here in Erie, but the properties that we have, we ride through Erie, so many times we find out that the properties are blighted properties in areas that I question whether or not anyone would want to or should even want to desire to live in. Why would I want to live the nicest home that you have and the next two homes are blighted properties? We either have to fix these properties or tear them down. Another thing we look at is the tax breaks. The tax breaks that we're talking about here is that we have so many small businesses that want to come to Erie, want to stay in Erie, but they can't afford the taxes that we have here. And it's amazing how we look at these taxes and we talk about how some can afford them and some can't. How do we have some properties that are these massive size properties who pay no taxes, but yet and still the small owner cannot even afford to keep his business up because he's trying to take care of the taxes? Another question that came up was about addressing the social and structural inequities within the African American and other people of color in Erie. When we look at the social structure in Erie, we're looking at a situation wherein we have people who are divided. Our communities are divided by their racial and by their economic status. This is the way it is in Erie. This is the way it's been in Erie. There's people on one side of town and there's people on another side of town. And we have a way of saying you stay on your side of town and we'll stay on ours. One of the questions they wanted to know was how do we intermingle those people? I don't think that we'll be able to do that, but at least we'll be able to make the areas that those people who are less fortunate likely to live in, wanting to live in. Look at the situations that we have here, how we're separated by our demographics. When we look at our demographics, I try to imagine what it would be like if the African American people or the brown people were to try to have a celebration such as St. Patrick's Day. I would imagine that half of the community would end up in jail. But yet and still on St. Patrick's Day, it's okay to walk up and down the street getting very intoxicated in front of the police and nobody says or does anything. Is this fair or is it not? So we come down to the question of, they asked us in the next 10 years, what could we do that would improve Erie? My point is that we would have to look at that demographic situation. We would have to look at our racial situation. That is the biggest divide that we have in Erie. We have economy here, we have jobs here, but we are so divided racially that it's not something that's being hidden. This brings me down to the election that I'm involved in. I'm very displeased with this election, and the reason I am because when we started the election, we started with 11 candidates. At this point, the Democratic Party has broken that 11 down to 6. They chose 6 people during the primary that they were going to endorse. My opinion is that during the time of the primaries, the Democratic Party nor anyone else should interfere on any level. When I say interfere, now we have 6 people. If you go into the computer and Google the candidates for city council, you will get 6 names. The 6 people who the Democratic Party endorsed. The other 5 people who also got their 100 signatures, who did everything that was necessary for them to become candidates, have been eliminated, basically, simply because of the Democratic Party making a choice as to who they were going to endorse. When they said who they were going to endorse, they didn't say they were going to endorse them why. All they said, Mr. Worth said, we're choosing these people according to their demographics. How do you do that? And their qualifications. What are their qualifications? No one has given one qualification. When you look at each of our backgrounds, I hate to even look at mine and try to compare mine with some of the others who made it, but we have made this separation without even having any qualifications to go by. Then to turn around and say that we were going to be using demographics and saying demographics and part of the committee to choose these 6 people was the ward leaders. The ward leaders are the ones who are going to choose the people who are going to be most beneficial to their ward. The members of the committee itself chose people who were going to be most beneficial to their wards, to their districts. This should have never been done. They should have never, ever tainted this election the way they did. They should have never pushed out these other 5 people. And they can't fix it now. That's the problem that I'm having, is that they caused a problem that they can't fix. You think about this. How do you separate people? How do you choose who's qualified and who's not qualified? I beg them, I ask them, give us a qualification. Show me the qualifications that you used to separate these people. And if it's demographics, we really have a problem. If it's your geographical location, we really have a problem, because you're choosing the people who are going to be most beneficial to you. These are just some things to think about, and I continue, as I told them, I do my campaign. I'm doing my campaign not because of being a member of a club. My constituents will either elect me in or they won't. But either way, I'm fine with it. As of what I said today, you make a decision. It's your choice.
Greetings. My name is Tom Staszewski, candidate for Erie City Council. I love Erie, and I have high hopes for our beloved city of Erie. I promise to bring a positive, optimistic, proactive, and high energy type of a voice with proven results throughout City Hall and of course in Erie City Council chambers. So thank you for your interest in this video. Thanks for your interest in my campaign. And as a candidate, I respectfully ask that as you watch this, as you give a listen to my campaign platforms, that you please give me consideration. I respectfully ask for your vote on Tuesday, May 21st. To find out more about who I am, I'd like to share with you some of my issues, some of my concerns. I believe that the future is bright for our city. If you look around from border to border, there's a lot of positive things happening. Really, things are really moving in the right direction as far as I'm concerned. So if we can all pitch in and unite and become more of a unified city, all working together, that's why I say I have high hopes for the city of Erie. I have some concerns, yet there's also opportunities for me to discuss during this allotted time frame. One of my initial concerns that I pledged to work very, very fastidiously on and very, very thoroughly on is our severe budget deficit. By reading the newspapers, watching local TV and talk radio, we're aware that the city is experiencing a flat tax base. There's become more and more of an issue of less property tax revenue to operate the finances and the budget within our beloved city government. So that is of a concern. Earlier this year, when the budget deliberations were occurring in City Hall, there was talk about an $11 million deficit, which surprised a lot of people. So one of my initial concerns is we have to look at ways of generating more revenue, because as of right now, that flat tax base of real estate property, our city expenses are starting to fast outpace our city revenues. So rather than unfairly penalizing homeowners, property homeowners who still live in the city of Erie and move into our city, rather than giving them an increase year after year after year of additional taxes, let's look at ways, and I pledge to look at ways of being more creative, innovative, and other sources of revenue besides the traditional real estate property tax only. For instance, I've been studying other cities that have created unique partnerships. For instance, if you look in the Philadelphia area, there are some universities such as Penn, as Drexel, and even down in College Park, Maryland. These universities have started to partner with the cities, and they realize that rather than trying to dominate the surrounding campus area where they hold their colleges and universities, they're partnering to create opportunities around the campus that are taxable, that are renewable, that are revitalizing the area. So that's one thing I'm looking at. We know too also that city expenses are fast increasing, yet we have a need for examining property owners that are of a nonprofit status. I love nonprofits. They're doing a tremendous service to those in need. I'm talking about the mega million-dollar, high-budget, 7-figure, 6-figure nonprofits of their employees that we got to look at ways of having them pitch in more to help. We've heard a lot recently about pilots, payment in lieu of taxes. That's one option to look at. We got to examine those mega million-dollar budget nonprofits and see how they can step up to the plate to help us more. Because if you look at our city expenses, what we provide, the services, the police, the fire, I respect both of those entities. Public safety is a major priority of mine as a candidate. The snow plowing, the right-of-way access, all of those factors come into play as far as being costly services. So pilots are one thing I'm in favor of, but yet not penalizing the traditional small volunteer-based type of nonprofits. I'm not really talking about the proverbial Sisters of the Poor, who are mostly doing faithful services and volunteering instead of getting paid salaries. I found out in my discovery that pilots are one format. There's also two variations that begin with the letter S as in services and the letter G as in gifts. So there are other ways of asking nonprofits to step up to the plate. We can look at services in lieu of taxes. Silence. Can't we ask for some services to give back to the city to help out with this severe budget deficit? Also, there's gifts in lieu of taxes. So I'll talk more about those time permitting, but that's one of my major concerns as far as having the right amount of revenue so that we can provide more services to all of us residents and all of the people that need the city services. Another major issue, another campaign platform is the improvement of neighborhoods. I love our unique City of Erie neighborhoods. I walk around the city daily as a form of exercise, and I love exploring our beloved various neighborhoods throughout the entire city. I belong to a number of groups, a number of organizations. The city is rich in neighborhood associations. For instance, not far from where I live, the Academy Neighborhood Association, I'm involved with them. We've been doing cleanups. We have one scheduled in a few weeks. We had one earlier this spring. I've been going to the East Side Grassroots Coalition meetings and our Bayfront network of neighborhood associations. And I've been pitching in to help out to make life better for all people within our city. So what I'm talking about is improving neighborhoods. Blighted properties is a concern. We have more and more dilapidated, abandoned, vacant homes that are in need of repair. So I'm glad to see that there's already an Erie County land bank that is in operation, which will help out to eradicate those blighted properties, to either demolish them, remove them, or improve them. And I'm an advocate of the all-important Erie County Land Bank. I'm studying that more as well. That should really revitalize the city of Erie and make it better for all of us. We hear a lot lately about LRTA, the Economic Revitalization Tax Assistance and the tax abatements. That's under discussion as we speak. Right now, in present time, the three partners of LRTA, the city, the county, and Erie City School District, are coming close to an agreement. I'm in favor of public hearings. I'll be at those public hearings. I'll be carefully listening to the constituents, and the fact that we're scheduling soon, from what I understand, LRTA-type public hearings is going to be a valuable time for us to get more involved with that. My background has been a successful 35-year plus career in higher education administration. I was able to achieve status as an academic dean and to be involved in the day-to-day management of many academic operations in several universities and several colleges. And I say that because I can bring that same mindset, that same skill set that allowed me to make effective decisions, that allowed me to analyze situations and to carefully come up with a careful determination of what best to do is one of my skill set points. Throughout all of my time in management and administration and involving the day-to-day operations as a chief academic officer, many times I was involved with creating budgets, implementing budgets, and closing out budgets. And I can tell you that all of the budgets that I've worked on and deliberated on and planned and implemented, there was never a single audit exception to any one of those budgets at any time throughout my career. So they've all passed in flying colors. And I believe that I can bring that same skill set of proper budgetary management and being a steward of public taxpayer dollars. So I pledge that as well. If we look at what's happening in our city, there's been a trend to bring, in my opinion, far too many out-of-town consultants. That is a form of a reverse brain trust. We need to keep the brains that we have in the city to use them, primarily the younger populations as they graduate from college and as they start their career. We need to keep those young minds here, and I have plans for that. But what about ignoring of the minds and the scholars and the research experts we already have here? It seems like every year there's an awarding of a six-figure consultant contract to some out-of-town entity. They fly in, they study the Erie, they look around, they talk, they come up with some kind of findings, and then they go back home. Why don't we use the talent we have here? Let's use the researchers, the academicians, the people that are skilled researchers, and get them involved with consulting or even as a service in lieu of taxes. So I'm in favor of that as well. If you look at some qualities of myself as a candidate, some of my major core values are honesty, integrity, personal responsibility, personal accountability, hard work, determination, and persistence. And I pledge, if elected, to roll up my sleeves and to get to work to help Erie become all it can be with its potential. I do have high hopes. I'm optimistic about our present status. I'm optimistic more about our futures tomorrow. And I believe that I am capable of having that positive voice in City Hall to make a difference. And I pledge to listen to constituents and to do what's best as I serve as a public servant and as I make decisions that impact the whole city. So I do want to let you know too that sometime in the very near future you'll see me out more and more in the neighborhoods. I have been already knocking on some close to 400 doors already, and I'm looking at getting into neighborhoods, knocking at doors, meeting with constituents, and finding out what your concerns are. So I do have, as you will see when I leave these and when I share these with you, I have 35 years of proven leadership abilities, making effective decision-making and an astute, prudent way of managing budgets, and a critical analysis of what needs to be done to help our beloved city of Erie. As we look at Tuesday, May 21st, I am candidate number 8, Tom Stashevsky. So please, I ask you to carefully review the ballot, find candidate number 8 if you would please, and I respectfully ask for your vote to consider me as a city council person. I pledge to work very hard, to work very, very diligent, and to make our city even better than what it is now. Over the years, I found it better to maintain a positive mental attitude. I've always looked at things in terms of we have a choice of how we react to things. I look at city issues, I look at city projects, and I'm optimistic about what can be done to improve life for everybody, all of us. And I'd like to call to your attention, please, a little saying that's centered around these 4 letters, THIO. It's kind of like a mindset. It's kind of like how we view things, how we look at life. In some respects, it's related to the proverbial half a glass of water. Is that half a glass of water half full, half empty, or even who cares? But this THIO story is how I view each day. I look at each day as a tremendous way of all of us using our talents, our abilities, and tapping into the talents of constituents. So to solve a little puzzle, and for the sake of time, THIO. That's what I pledge to be, a person that looks at life, that looks at city issues, that looks at having solved problems and managed problems. Today has its opportunities. Today has its opportunities. I like that mindset. I believe that mindset is a healthy way of looking at issues, a healthy way of realizing that we can all pitch in together and work hard to improve our beloved city. So I carefully ask, I respectfully ask for your vote. And also when we talk about LRTA and land banks and improving our city, we have to take a closer look at what's been happening at the Bayfront. Oliver Hazard Perry years ago said, "Don't give up the ship." Candidate Tom Stashevsky says, "Don't give up the Bayfront." Before we move into a 10-year LRTA, before we move into 100% tax abatement, I know there's pros and cons about LRTA. I've been studying them. Right now, the pros are outweighing the cons, but I've been finding as recently as this morning, as I continue to review LRTA, that some townships, some cities, some entities have said that 10 years is too long. And if they had to do it over again, they would do a 5-year LRTA. So in closing, as we bring this to I'll wrap up. I want to thank the television stations here of Cam Erie for the opportunity to speak with you. I'm optimistic about today and tomorrow. And on Tuesday, May 21st, please consider me, Tom Stashesky. My name is Stashesky. It sounds like Coach K from Duke. We call him Coach K. Stashesky. I'm candidate Tom Stashesky. I have a doctorate from the University of Pittsburgh in Administrative and Policy Studies, Higher Education Administration. So I'm proud of all my academic credentials, including that doctorate degree from the University of Pittsburgh. So thank you for watching. I appreciate your interest. I'll do all I can to make Erie better for all of us. And stay tuned for me being in the neighborhoods, knocking on your doors, and listening to you instead of just me doing all the talking. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Antonio Stepp, and I am running for City Council here in Erie, Pennsylvania. The one thing that I want to do, I want to help sustain the current job opportunities that we have here in the city, that we don't have to reinvent the wheel, we just have to get the proper personnel in those positions. So what I want to do, I want to be the voice to help the citizens be heard throughout the chambers of City Council. So if we go out there on May 21st and help Antonio Stepp get elected, I will be the voice for the people of Erie. And the one thing that I do want to focus my attention on is the downtown area and the waterfront. We have a beautiful waterfront that's not being utilized properly. So what we can do is we can come up with a game plan and focus on that, so we can bring more opportunities here for the city of Erie, for the citizens of Erie, so we can bring revenue in for the city. What we're gonna do, we're going to come up with a game plan to go across 12th Street, because when I was young, I remember there was plenty of job opportunities across 12th Street that are no longer there, or the current people are getting up there in age, so we have to help bridge the gap in between the current positions that's there now and the new generation that's coming up here in Erie. We have to focus on them because they are the future. What we are going to also do is we're going to step forward with Antonio Stepp to get him elected on this primary election, so we can begin to work on that game plan. It's the awesome opportunity for someone young to come in with some fresh ideas that will bring to the city council and for the citizens of Erie, so we can help move forward. Erie has been kind of late on a lot of things, and I do believe we have the people here that we can help uplift the city, so we can continue to move forward on doing that. Tell you a little bit about myself. I grew up here, lifelong resident. My grandparents raised me, Erie School District, two-sport athlete, did a little bit of college. Currently now I am employed at one of the biggest car dealerships in Northwest Pennsylvania, Yankee Honda, and I am a current leader at one of the largest African-American churches here in the city. So I am not afraid to be in the front of the opportunities that will bring us here. And what I can do, I have 19 years of negotiating skills, financing skills to help get the budget under control, so we can get out of this deficit that we're in, so we don't continue to add to that deficit in the future. So with that being said, let's just go out on May 21st to elect Antonio Stepp. I am number 9th on the ballot. So please remember Antonio Stepp. Go out and vote for Antonio Stepp. Thank you very much.
Hello, Erie City. My name's Chuck Nelson. I'm running for City Council. And with me today are my daughters. This is Sophia Nelson and Lydia Nelson. And I am going to be interviewing them about their endorsement for City Council. They're not quite old enough to vote yet. So, right? You're not 18 yet. How old are you?
7.
7. So I'll be term limited by the time she can vote. How old are you again?
I'm halfway there, so.
Oh, she's halfway to voting, which I still will have to do the math on that one.
9! What do you think?
9, all right. So they are going to be offering their endorsement today. We're going to be asking them about what they view for the future of Erie and what they're excited about on the campaign trail. So, Lydia, you've been the one helping with the campaign so far. How has that been going?
It's really well. I feel like I'm meeting more people than just going to the grocery store and stuff like that. It's really a good opportunity to see Erie in a different way.
Yeah. And Sophia, you got some signs out today. How was that? You're my expert sign stepper. Was it easy enough?
Yeah,
Yeah. You excited to be going door to door later?
kinda.
Kind of. It's a little bit scary. It's scary for me too. I get a little nervous about those door-to-door business stuff. Yeah?
It's kind of boring.
Oh, and it's boring. Okay, that's not the case for me. I get a kick out of talking to the people.
Yeah, actually, it would be pretty
Sometimes
cool.
boring.
So
I guess
one of the
for
things we're talking
entertainment.
about is we want to talk about seeing the city have family-sustaining communities. And so when you guys live in the city,
This is the one word I didn't.
so what we're looking at is having family communities that help families out. So you want to tell them, you don't have to give them their whole address. They can look it up though, it's all public. But where do we live? What street are we living on?
9th Street,
9th
and
Street.
there's very little people who were on City Council. One in like the last few years, I forget how much years.
Yeah. Since 1962 in the West Bayfront neighborhood, we've only had one representative. So it's 1% representation for 14% of the population. So our neighborhood sometimes gets overlooked possibly, and especially with the comprehensive plan and the stuff that we're looking at downtown, it's important to see those neighborhoods that are surrounding the downtown, building a strong community still. So we've been talking about that a lot on the campaign trail. You were helping me at one of the events, sharing that information. And
That was pretty cool. Another great opportunity of meeting people.
yeah, lots of people. How many? There was a lot of people at our West Bayfront meeting.
Yeah, I was really surprised. I didn't think that much were not running for something.
Yeah. So one of the things that we're looking at
So,
downtown here is that there's a lot of opportunities to build family-based communities. And at that meeting in particular, there was a lot of excitement because they were working on Bayview Park. We live on 9th Street. We can walk here to the community access media. We can walk to parks in our neighborhood, and we have a lot of fun with that. We could walk downtown. We've walked to baseball games, and it's a family thriving type of environment. And we're just hoping to continue to build that as I raise my family downtown. So Sophia, what's some of your favorite things about living downtown? What are some of your favorite things in the city? The zoo.
The zoo and like
And Dobbins Landing and the parks and all of these fun things downtown. So we're just
The
looking to
reason
have.
she said zoo is because she's interested in zoology.
She's hoping to be the Erie zookeeper here in like 15 years. That's the plan. One of the things that we look at is that in the city, I think there's a lot of times that we have decentralized living in the city. There's a lot of reasons that the families are moving out. And Sophia's already called dibs on my house. She's made it very clear that eventually we're going to move into where my mother-in-law lives now, and she's going to take over the house, right? Is that the plan? Yeah, that's the plan. So what I want to do as a city councilman is to make sure that this city is brought up in a way that we have a stronger future. That it's the kind of place where my kids can look forward to living here, and that I can look forward to having a better place for them. Some of the things we were talking about earlier today is that there's been purchases the city's made that happened when I was your age, and they're not going to get paid off till she's my age. And that's the kind of burden that goes on future generations that I want to protect, because I want to see that those future generations stay here. I want to make sure my family stays in Erie. And she's got some other plans, marine biology. She's talked about moving to the ocean, but this one's staying. She's already called dibs on the house, right? And we want to make sure that when she ends up staying here, that there's opportunity for her to stay more comfortably, that there's not burdens left on her from me. So that's one of the things I really want to focus on as city council, is making sure that we have a stronger future in Erie, and a stronger future with these little ones, raising families in these neighborhoods as we continue to invest in neighborhoods. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
You down for that?
Yeah.
You pumped about it? My kids are excited about being downtown. They're excited about being on TV when they found out this was an option. More her than her, but right?
Sophia didn't want to talk.
She didn't want to talk, but
Yeah.
there's exciting opportunities to share with Erie. And one of the things I'm campaigning is on not just building the future, about what we were doing today. So, well, I'm supposed to be interviewing you about your endorsement for your dad. Do you want to tell them what do we do downtown? What do I do for work?
He is a pastor at a church called The Cross. He's very focused on helping homeless people, and he does this thing to help Erie by bringing college and high school kids from different states over to help homeless and cities in the city's poor areas.
Yeah. One of the things is the downtown zip code 16501 has the lowest median household income in the nation. So when we were looking to do ministry downtown and we were looking to start a church, we looked at the place where the need was the greatest. And for those first 5 years of the church, from the time you were born until kindergarten-ish, the church wasn't bringing me on a salary. What did I do? How did I pay the bills?
He was a waiter at 1201.
Waited tables,
remember?
and had all sorts of different jobs that I worked on. But what we did was we built this church out, and we reached the people that I felt needed reached the most. And it wasn't just me on a one-man mission. These girls are out here. They're cooking dinner. How many nights a week we cooking dinner for, or nights a month we cooking dinner for the downtown community? You guys get back there, they're serving up chili dogs almost every Sunday. Yeah. Every Sunday our church provides a dinner. We draw in the homeless guys with that, or the impoverished of our downtown community. And what we do is we connect them into a broader community with that. And by bringing them into a broader community, we've seen more success in finding community that can boost up the least of these in our culture. Now, these girls are comfortable. It's fun because they see the needs in the city and they address those needs. We don't live in a place that we can turn a blind eye to the needs, but we make sure that they're present. And we provide solutions for those. One of the things that made me proudest, and I think you said it with a little too much pride, but we'll offer the story of it. We started hosting mission trips to the downtown zip code, and we're hosting groups from around the nation. This summer we've got groups coming from Boston, from Long Island, from upstate New York, Youngstown, Pittsburgh. We've got them coming all over to serve in our city and to serve the needs of our city. So what we've been able to do is we've been able to lead others in service and give them an example of what the needs are and how we can satisfy those needs. When they came on the trip this past summer, Lydia had pointed out that she was so excited that other people would take vacations to her life, that this is what she does in her regular life, and that she was excited that they got to just come and take a vacation to see the kind of service that we provide as our family on a regular basis. So what I'm hoping to do in city council is to lead others in service. I've led that with a certain level of character up to this point, working in a religious field, but also I'm looking to provide that kind of leadership to serving our city in different ways. When we bring the groups in on mission trips, we are working with a lot of different organizations. What are some of the organizations we're working with? Do you remember? You don't remember the names of them?
No,
We stay busy with it. There's Our West Bayfront.
Sorry, yeah, I know.
That's fine.
I know. I'm kind of getting a little too excited, and
That's fine. That's fine.
It's weird.
We do work with our West Bayfront, usually with their blighted properties over on the west side of town. We're working on rehabbing a duplex over there, and we're working on their headquarters when we bring these groups in for spring break and in our summer groups. We work a lot with Serve Erie, and they help send us out to so many different organizations throughout our city. We've done a lot of stuff with the Erie City Mission and all of the different places that you would expect to see ministry occurring. These people come in on the trips and they wake up in the morning and have breakfast at the Bishop's breakfast at St. Paul's Church. And we've seen by having these guys hit their boots on the ground and spend time immediately with some of our most at-need people, we see them build those relationships and break those walls. On City Council, I think I can bring that kind of element into our general population of Erie. I think I can represent the people that live throughout this neighborhood in good family-sustaining neighborhoods. And I think I could show them and give them examples of how they can serve our neediest neighbors as well. One of my biggest hopes is that I can serve this city in a way that bridges all of the gaps of our society and brings together all of our neighbors. It's been really the passion of mine as I've served in ministry. And it's not just a passion of mine in ministry, but it's a passion of mine in life. And I've been excited to how well my children and my family have served in that capacity, along with my wife, Betsy. My kids have fun in school, right? They're involved in a lot of activities. We keep them busy, but we always keep service at the center of what their lives are about, right? Right? Right now they're on spring break with me. You guys having fun on spring break?
Yeah.
I'm doing way more of the talking in this interview. I'm supposed to be interviewing you about the endorsement, right?
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, man. Sorry, I'm talking too much. So as we continue to look into this city council run, I'm hopeful to see your support. I'm looking forward to getting out, knocking on doors. We've knocked on a few hundred already. We're having fun with that. And as we prepare to look at the future, I'm hoping to bring the same level of creativity to the city and how it operates as what we've been able to do with this ministry. Having a church that primarily reaches homeless and otherwise has mostly college students at it isn't the most viable way to make a living. But what we've seen is that while I have not compromised on character, we've found creative ways to make everything work together. I think in this city we have an opportunity where someone with fresh ideas and a passion for those in need and a love for his family can bring about a community that reaches further than what we've been able to do before. I've demonstrated creativity and passion and ideas in my livelihood that I think would bring a nice element to City Hall. Ideas that are embraced by the people that I'd work with. Just sharing my passion and ideas with them, I think will help move City Hall in a continued positive direction. It's with no accusation towards certain, our current City Hall, but I'm looking forward to working with those that are there right now. I think that there's some good people with some good agendas, and it's just I look forward to giving them an additional perspective to consider as we work together for the betterment of this city. Yeah? Sounding good still? All right. As we continue to look at downtown, I'm excited about the different opportunities we see and places we can invest in. Opportunities that have come and with the downtown investment in new businesses reaching minorities and women and people that have tech jobs that have a lasting impact. I'm excited about seeing the direction that we have for tomorrow advancement and for the chances that we have to continue to build a city with a stronger tomorrow. At this point, I really want to see that we invest in that stronger tomorrow by taking care of our responsibilities today, of not kicking the can down to the next generation. And as I've seen the burdens that have been placed on us with some of the taxes and the issues there, I feel confident that we can find a way to have a more regional base to our revenue and that we could take the burden off of the city residents that provide the resources for our entire region. That's one of my passions as I look to see that we take care of today so that we can have a stronger future in Erie. Girls, I'm sorry, I forgot to, do I have your recommendation for city council or your endorsement? Can we get a look at the camera and say yes on that one? I offered you Fat Lenny's ice cream.
Yeah.
Do you recommend me for city council? Time's almost up.
Yes.
Yes, all right. Well, I hope I have your support as well as we look forward to an election on May 21st. I hope I can get you to come out and vote. I'm going to be last on the ballot, so save that check for Chuck, all right? And this is Chuck Nelson for City Council. Looking forward to having your support as we look to a stronger future for the city of Erie. Thank you all. Girls, you want to say thanks to them?
Thank you.
Thanks. Vote for their dad.